Hey guys, welcome to this Goodreads webinar. We're going to get started because we have a lot of material to cover. We're going to jump right in. This is the second webinar in the series, the webinar authors series. And this particular webinar will focus on talking about how to use plugins, specifically 10 plugins that can save time and automate tasks on your blog. So we're going to start right in without further ado. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. My name is Umar Jang, and I am a self-published author. I have 2 books out, and I'm working on several other projects that are due sometime this year and next year. I am also a blogger. I have an official blog under my name. I also speak publicly about topics of motivational and inspirational topics in particular, and personal growth, and also podcasting. I have a podcast called the Motivational Voice Podcast, which has been launched actually this year, in February this year. So check it out on iTunes when you have a chance. I would really appreciate that. And I am also an entrepreneur. I like to have my hand dipped into several pots, if you will, to explore different opportunities and also just stay abreast of what's happening and what's new in the world of publishing and web design, as well as blogging and speaking. Finally, I am a father. I am married, and I have 3 kids, 3 boys to be specific, and they certainly keep me busy. Okay, so we're going to jump into the objectives of the webinar. Since we have, as I mentioned, a lot to cover, I want to make sure that I am conscious about using time today and to make sure that you get the most out of this webinar. My goal is to present webinars that have material that actually help you understand and grow your own brand in your journey as an author. But you don't have to be an author to attend and watch this webinar. So certainly we will talk about that. But one of the key objectives of this webinar is for you to understand what plugins are and what they can really do for you as an author. Second, I want you to be able to find and use the right plugins. I will show you ways to not only determine what you need in terms of automation and saving time, but also how to find the right plugins that fit your need. Next, we will talk about how to maximize and improve user experience still using these plugins. Another objective is to get a professional representation of your brand. As authors, we spend a lot of time representing our brand out there and making sure that people see us as professionals and we present a certain demeanor, if you will, while we are out in public. We want to make sure that our websites do the same thing and represent who we are and show a professional image to visitors, people who go to our website. Finally, we will talk about automating tasks and saving time. That will be the bulk of the webinar, the second part of the webinar. And I have a lot planned, and I'm sure you'll be pleased with what you see in the next few minutes, in the next hour or so. First, let's do some definitions. I know that a lot of you watching are authors. Most of you are not technical and potentially have someone who actually handles your website and your blog rather than you doing it yourself. So I want to make sure that as I go through the webinar, you may hear me say blog or website or site. Understand that I'm using those terms interchangeably to mean the same thing, to mean a blog or a website. Most authors have a blog rather than a regular website. So that's what I mean when I say, if you hear me say site, that's what I mean. I mean really blog or website, whichever you happen to have. Finally, in terms of definitions, we will talk about WordPress. WordPress was a company founded by Matt Mullenweg and Mike Little back in 2003. It actually used to be something else in 2001, and they kind of spread out and forked out to create a site called WordPress. And WordPress is a free, that's the keyword, it's free. It's a free content management system, and it allows you to use WordPress and share your message out with the public. Okay, so who is this webinar for? I mentioned earlier that this is a webinar for authors. It's a series of webinars that I'll be doing during the summer, but you don't have to be an author to watch a webinar. This webinar is for a beginner to intermediate level professionals or authors, people who are just starting out to build their websites or being an author, and they're just getting into this whole thing about building a platform. So in terms of knowledge level, that's what you can expect from this webinar. It's for beginners. You may find some useful tips that I will share if you are a little more advanced in terms of using plugins and WordPress. However, there is certainly value in the demos and tips that I will share throughout the webinar. It's also for anyone who's looking to build or grow a platform, an online presence. So again, entrepreneurs, small business owners, if you run your own business and you would like to start a website that's a little more dynamic, and we will talk about this throughout the webinar in the next 30 minutes or so, this is the webinar for you. It will introduce you to the basics in terms of how you can draw people and keep them engaged using plugins. It's also for anyone who's looking to automate their website. Maybe you already have a website, maybe you already have a blog, and you're trying to spend less time doing work that you believe could be automated. And one final thing is that you must be using WordPress, because we are going to be talking about WordPress plugins. Again, WordPress is a content management platform. It's free, that we will be using plugins for WordPress. So you must have WordPress installed. And in most cases, if you have a web host, such as Bluehost, which I use personally, or SiteGround, or any other site like GoDaddy, or they actually would allow you nowadays to install WordPress without having to go on your own and download it. So just so you are aware. And finally, we will jump into the topic of the webinar, plugins. What is a plugin? Now, in terms of a technical definition, and this is a definition I actually got from the WordPress.org website, a plugin is a program or set of one or more functions written in the PHP scripting language that adds a specific set of features or services to the WordPress weblog. This is a little bit outdated in terms of definition. That's why they say weblog, which nowadays we just call it blog. You don't need to say weblog. So that's the WordPress definition. Now, in plain English, I came up with a definition of my own. A plugin is an add-on or a building block, if you will, that allows the blog owner, so you, the author or the small business owner or the entrepreneur, to display, change, or capture information on a blog. So the best way I can explain it is think of a big Lego piece, a big flat Lego piece that you can buy for, let's say, your child, or maybe even yourself if you're a Lego fan. So you have this big flat boring piece that you can buy additional pieces of Lego pieces to put on top of the flat boring Lego piece, the main piece. Think of the plugins as those additional pieces that you add on top of the main Lego piece. And think of the Lego piece as the WordPress content sharing, content management platform. So Lego blocks are plugins. The main Lego piece is your WordPress site. So you can add more pieces to that main Lego piece to customize your main Lego piece. In other words, your blog. You can add plugins to customize your blog and make them look the way you want them to look. So that was a little bit long-winded in terms of description, but I wanted to make sure that you understood what a plugin is. It's just a way to customize your WordPress blog. So let's move on to an example. Okay, so in the next 30 minutes or so, I will use two websites as examples of a website that has plugins and a website that does not have plugins. I will use my own websites. One of them is umarjeng.com, and the other, without any plugins installed as of yet, any visible plugins anyway, savvyparent.com. That's a website that is not launched yet, that will be launched along with the release of my parenting book called Raising Perfect Children, 101 Things I Wish I Knew Before Becoming a Parent. When I launch that book, I am actually going to launch this website called savvyparent.com. So I will use these two sites. The first website, umarjeng.com, and actually I'm going to go to the website and show you. I'm going to show you my main website here. So if you go to umarjeng.com, and actually I'm going to get out of it and go back in. Let me make sure I am. Okay, so I'm going to go to that website, umarjeng.com, which is my official blog. You will see here on the website, I want to show you the website has already a lot of plugins installed. I want to show you what the finished product looks like, a website that has plugins installed. If you look on the website on the right-hand side here, you will notice that it has some floating icons here. These are social media sharing icons, and this is actually a plugin. It allows me to display a more interactive sharing icon to visitors of my blog. If you look to the right side here, you will notice that I have a form, one form here, one form here, and that allows me to capture my readers' information, first name and email in this case, to actually add it to my mailing list so I can be in touch with them to let them know every time I have a new blog post. It automatically goes out to them, to the list, without me lifting a finger. I could be sleeping and the plugin will do this behind the scenes. If we go inside of a blog post, let me click on this one here. You can see this is a blog post, and you could see on the right side here, it shows some more information. Some of these are plugins as well. You could see how it completes the site. It makes it more of a fuller site. Notice this popped up. This is a message bar on top here that encourages the visitors to take action on something that I decide. So in this case, it's asking the visitor to click on this button here to watch the last webinar I did on Goodreads. And there's a lot of good information in that webinar. It was, I think, over an hour and a half long. I had to kind of split it in half to share it, but check it out. But anyway, my point is I am able to do this thanks to a plugin to get the user's attention. So plugins can be very, very useful in terms of directing people. It could be a guided tour, if you will, that happens behind the scenes. Now, I've been on the website for about a minute and a half or so, and notice what happened. This popped up. It noticed that I've been on the site for a minute and a half, so it knows that I've been reading or at least looking at the page. So what I did is I installed a plugin that says, hey, enjoy this blog, please spread the word. So this is a way to initiate an interactive dialogue without you being on the website, so your visitors can actually take action and do what you want them to do. And just, if you spend so much time building a website, you really should give your visitors the time if you will, your attention to show them all the good things that you put together for them so they can discover it easier. So that's how I see it. That's another way you can actually use plugins. Okay, so keeping on track here, I think we're right on track here to continue doing this. And just realized that I didn't share that page. So I'm going to go back here and quickly talk through this. Sorry about that. There, this is what I wanted to show you. So anyway, what I was talking about earlier was this. I was on the initial page here. I'm going to quickly do this because I didn't realize I was sharing my screen. So we'll do this over quickly. So if I go to umarjeng.com, this is my official blog. And if you look at the blog on the right-hand side here, you will see social share buttons. That's what I was talking about earlier when I didn't share my screen. Social share buttons here. This is actually thanks to a plugin that I have behind the scenes that's displaying a more interactive content. If you look down here, you will see a form that captures information from my readers. They can enter their first name, last name, and submit that information so I can capture their email address and their names so that if I submit a post, the system knows to automatically send them an update to say, hey, by the way, there's a new post from Umar Jang, check it out. Okay, and if I click on one of the blog posts that I have, I'll click on this one, the one I just looked at, and scroll down, you will notice that in this case, it actually has an ad. This ad here is handled behind the scenes by a plugin. This is handled by a plugin. A link to my podcast, the one I talked about, Motivational Voice Podcast, this link is displayed by a plugin. It's a button that people can click on to see the plugin, or rather to go to my podcast, and they can listen to it or subscribe on iTunes. All that is being done by thanks to a plugin. And you notice that this popped up. It says, so you missed the last author webinar. No problem. Click here to watch. That's called a call to action, and it's also managed by a plugin. So if users click on this, they can go to my webinar page and watch the webinars that I had, the one that I did on Goodreads, which was a couple of weeks ago, that they can watch. So that's the power of plugins. Okay. So I'm going to switch back to our presentation to make sure that you can see it. Okay, so the other website is this one, Savvy Parent. Right, so this is the one we were looking at, umarjeng.com. And then Savvy Parent is a website that does not have any plugins installed. It's a website that I will actually launch, as I mentioned, when I launch my book, Raising Perfect Children, 101 Things I Wish I Knew Before Becoming a Parent. So since the website hasn't launched yet, it will launch along with my book. We are going to use it as a website where we can install plugins and do a demonstration so you guys can see what plugins can do and how to use them within the next 20 to 30 minutes or so. Okay. All right. So moving along, we're going to go to the next slide, which says, why should you care? Why should you care about plugins? Well, if you have a WordPress blog, you really, really should be using plugins. If you're not using plugins, your website will look something like this. It's going to be very, very blasé and very, very simplistic, and you probably do not want that. So if you go to the website I just mentioned, savvyparent.com, and I'll share that particular page here so you guys can see it. Okay, SavvyParent.com, this is the website I was talking about, which will be a website that will host my book, Raising Perfect Children. If you look here, it's very, very static. It's kind of boring. It's got some links on the right side here, but other than that, well, there's one plugin which I installed right here. This is a plugin. If you notice at the bottom right-hand corner, that's a plugin. But other than that, it's kind of boring. It doesn't tell the user, the visitor, to do anything. There's nothing dynamic about the website, and that's something that you want to avoid. You want your website to be interactive. You want to use those plugins to automate as much of the tasks as you can, and as much of those call to action as you can. Okay, so we're going to go back to our screen here and switch back to our presentation so we can move on to the next topic. So why should you care? Well, you should really care about using plugins because it saves you money. If you have a blog and you are using plugins, plugins are very, very cost effective. They are, first of all, it can help you avoid costs, development costs, meaning normally you would pay a developer, someone who knows how to build websites, to design all these customizations on your blog. And that can go anywhere from $200 to, God, several $1,000s. And that can be really, really expensive very quickly. And the second point is that plugins are mostly free. Many plugins, if not most of them, are free. You can download them within WordPress within 20 seconds, install them and start using them, and they are free. Some plugins are paid because they allow you to use some professional features that other people would not normally have. And if you can, even if you find a plugin that's paid, generally they will allow you to have a version that's free. So it won't cost you a lot to do that. And it also allows you to customize your blog to fit your character. So as an author, and I mentioned this earlier, you have a certain character, you have a certain image, a certain brand that you want to reflect who you are and what services you have to sell in a certain manner, a specific manner. If you have a blog that you customize using plugins, it can reflect that brand, whether it's colors, a certain image, and a certain layout. But finally, the reason why you really should care is dynamic versus static websites. If you were around back in the 1990s, so let's think 1990, let's say 1998, what was the internet like? If you went to a website, most of the websites were very, very static pages. You would have required a person who knew HTML, which is a coding language, to allow you to display a page on the internet back then. It's still being used, but it's more dynamic now. So back then you had a page and it was very static, and it mostly contained text. Now things have changed drastically. Most websites are dynamic. If you visit a website, they can actually display different content depending on which part of the country you are, who you are, and where you're logging in from. That's called a dynamic website. Plugins allow you to do something similar, meaning they allow users to interact with your website, and that makes it a more rich experience, and that reflects your character and your brand as an author. Okay, so we'll keep moving along here. We are 5 minutes behind, so I'll try to keep on track here so we can get to those demonstrations that I promised you. Now, how do you get a plugin? Well, it's simple, really. You can get a recommendation. So like in this webinar, I'm talking about plugins, and I will share 10 plugins, 4 of which, 3 or 4, depending on how much time we have, I will demonstrate and show you how to use. So that's a recommendation. I tell you about a plugin because I've tried them and I've used them. I know that these are some of the best plugins out there. So that's one way of getting them. Number 2, You could do a very simple Google search, okay? And I'll demonstrate. Let me share my screen so you can see. So you can see how to actually find a plugin. Now, if you're having problems hearing me or anything, please let me know. I didn't do a sound check, so things look good on my end. But if you can't hear anything, just send me a message, a chat message or a question, so I know that you are having trouble hearing me. Okay, so let's say we go on Google and do a plugin search. Let's assume that you are an author and you're looking for a plugin to display pop-ups. You want to be able to display a message when visitors come to your website. Let's just assume that's what you want to do. And you have this very fancy book that you just released or you're about to release. And the first thing you want people to see when they go to your website is to say, hey, I have a new book that I'm launching. Please check it out. And you want them to see that. One way you can achieve that is to use a plugin, specifically a pop-up plugin. As the name says, it's a pop-up plugin. So what you can do is go to Google and type in pop-up plugin for WordPress, because again, we're using WordPress. There are other platforms, but WordPress is by far one of the most popular ones. So pop-up plugin, and then you look on the page, you have some matches. I like to generally look for various links for those pop-ups. Okay. So one thing I'll do is I will look for links like this, 45 plus best WordPress pop-up plugins. So I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to do open in new link, and I'm using Chrome as my browser. I'm doing this because I don't want this page to go away. So I'm opening it here in a new window, if you can see here. And I'll scroll down and I'll look for another one to get different websites, pop-up plugin. And here, I generally also like to go down to, let's say, the third page, just to get more of a variety, because these plugins are being developed by people who sometimes want sell a paid version of it. So you want to get a good flavor of the ones that are available out there. Okay, so we have 3 windows here. The first one I clicked on is this one. So you look down and then you check them out. Just take the time to go through them. If you need be, download and install them and try them to see the one you like the best. Okay, so there's one. There's one that's pretty nice. So your pop-up would look like this. Generally, they would have screenshots. Okay, so do the same with the other pages that came up. And I'm moving a little quickly here because I want to. So here, there's one that says buy now for $23. And generally, if you find a plugin that's worth the money, for what you get, it's really not much money to spend $8, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40 to get a very good plugin. So, but most of the plugins I use are not paid plugins. They're mostly free. Some of the plugins I use are paid because I wanted to get access to certain features of the plugin. And sometimes it's really worth it. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's how you find a plugin. I'm going to switch back to our presentation. Let me make sure I share the screen so you guys can see it. Okay. All right, so that's how you search for a plugin, and we're going to keep going quickly. Running out of time here, running behind anyway. We have another half hour to go. I want to make sure there's time for questions if people ask any questions, that is. So anyway, I want to make sure that there is time for questions, so we'll keep moving. Now, how else can you get a plugin? You can learn from other influential websites or individuals. So you can visit other bloggers' websites or other blogs from people that you really admire or people that you see as a mentor or even someone you know. Okay, so I am going to show you a blog from someone I know or someone I know of. Okay, so I am going to close some of these windows. And I'm going to go to this website for Michael Hyatt. Michael Hyatt is a blogger, a speaker, and he also does podcasts. And he's one of the people that I follow because he is really a trendsetter. And if you are a serious author or a blogger or even an entrepreneur or a businessman, you have to have a certain number of people that you look up to that are at a higher level than you are, and you want to make sure that you're keeping your ear on the ground to foresee and be abreast of the topics that are happening in your industry. In my case, book publishing, blogging, podcasting, public speaking. Okay, so michaelhyatt.com, we will go there. Okay, when you go to his website, you will see that he has a pretty nice website, and this is a plugin right here. He's asking for my first name, and there's a pop-up that just came up. That's the example I was talking about. The pop-up, on this pop-up, he's focusing on one thing. What he's trying to do is capture my first name and my email. In exchange, he will send me this book, The 10-Hour of Your Work Week, that will share with me some interesting tips and tricks for free. And this pop-up plugin allows him to do so. Okay, so there's an example. You can check and see what other plugins he has. Now, there's a challenge here. How do you know what plugins he is using unless it's visible? Well, like the pop-up plugin was visible, but I know he's probably using other plugins on his website that I can't tell. This is probably a plugin, a social media plugin or a social share plugin right here. Now, I found a way to find out what pop-ups authors are using, or any website that uses WordPress is using, to a certain degree. Okay, and I call that, this is a technique that I'm going to show you, which is there is a website that you can go to test how fast your blog loads. Excuse me, how fast your blog loads. That's important for most bloggers because the faster your website, the more points, if you will get with search engines like Google. Now they consider how fast your website loads. And that's just good practice. If you build a website, it needs to come up quickly. Otherwise, your users will get bored and go somewhere else. Okay, to me, that's common sense. So what you want to do is go to this website called Kingdom. It allows you to test how quickly your blog loads. Okay, but I'm not interested in testing my own blog speed. I've done this in the past. I'm interested in figuring out what kind of plugins this website uses. So I'm going to copy his web address, type it in here. I'm going to hit test now. As you can see, it's testing. And the page speed, that's pretty good, 3.44. So it's telling me that your website is faster than 47% of all tested websites. That's pretty decent. 3 seconds. You want to stay under 5 seconds. The lower, the better. So this is a bonus for those who are watching the webinar that you can use to test your website speed. So as a bonus, that's a sidetrack. But remember, I'm trying to find out what plugins he uses so I can maybe use them on my own website. Once the test is done, what you can do is just on your keyboard, hold Control F, and then type in plugin. If you notice on the top right-hand corner here, when I hit Control F, this came up. I'm using a Windows a PC. So see on the page it highlighted, and I'm using a Chrome browser, Google Chrome browser. Notice here it highlighted the word plugin. So what this tells me is that Michael is using a plugin called Foobox. He's also using a plugin called Jetpack, which I know comes with WordPress by default. He's also using PowerPress. I know that plugin as well. It's a plugin that you use for managing your podcasts and how you display them on your web page and to send that information to iTunes. So anyway, you can see here that he's using quite a bit of plugins. It won't show you everything, but it's a good guide to quote unquote spy on the competition or on those you look up to. Okay, so that's another way to find a plugin. Okay, and then what you need to do next is just go on Google and look for that plugin name that we just looked up. Okay, so that's how you would find a plugin. Now we're going to move on to our first demonstration. Now we're running out of time, so I may not have time to show you all 4 demonstrations. However, I will at least show you 1 or 2, maybe more, depending on how much time we have. Okay, so this first demonstration is for a plugin called GC Message Bar. It's a free plugin. You can buy the professional version, but it's a free plugin. So we are going to go to our guinea pig website, which is savvyparent.com. So I'm going to close this, savvyparent.com. Okay, and on this website, I'm going to log in to my WordPress control panel, if you will, behind the scenes. So savvyparent.com. I type in that. Anyone who's using a WordPress blog, generally, if you type in your website name.com/wp-admin, will take you to the website. So I'm going to log in, and we're going to do our first demonstration. Okay, so I am logged in, and you can see now my blog, and this is what happens behind the scenes. Your visitors to your website do not see this. This is what you do as the website owner to install plugins. Okay, so that first plugin is called GC Message Bar. To install the plugin, you click on Plugins on the left side here, and you can go to Add New, or you could just click on Plugins, and there's another Add New button right here. So click on Add New. Waiting for it to come up. There, and you will see a space here where you can actually search for the plugin. So if I type in GC Message Bar, hit enter, it brings it up right there. So there's GC Message Bar, and it shows you how many ratings the plugin has out of and how many downloads the plugin has. 49,440 downloads as of this webinar. So click on the title. You can see details if you want more details, and you can even look at the screenshots where it shows you a preview. But since we're going to download it and install it, we want to do that. So I'm just going to click on the button that says Install Now. Okay, and it will install it for you. Now, I am not going to install it. I already installed it in the interest of time. So, but just click Install, and it would install it for you. Yeah, I'll show you an example anyway. If I click on Install here on this plugin, it will say, are you sure you want to install the plugin? Say yes or okay, depending on what pops up for you, depending on what browser you use. And then it would tell you here, for example, installing plugin, unpacking, installing the plugin, successfully installed the plugin. And then you click on Activate Plugin to activate it. So that's what you would do with the, I'm just showing you an example. This is not the one we want to install. We want to install GC message bar, but since I already had it installed, I am using this one to show you the process. Then click on Activate Plugin, then your GC message bar, if you're installing that plugin, would be installed on your WordPress administration panel. That's what this is called, the behind the scenes panel. Okay, and then you go to plugins. So scroll up here, you can click on installed plugins, and it will show you. And if you have a lot of plugins installed, you could just quickly do a search to go to the plugin you want. So for example, there's a search box here to search just the plugins you have installed. So I'm going to type in GC message bar. Now I'm searching the plugins that I have installed. There, it brings it up. And I'm going to click on Activate. Waiting for it to activate. There we go. And I am going to scroll down. Now I need to set it up. If I click on Settings on this screen here, it will take me to the message bar control panel. So it shows you all these options for how you want to set up the message bar. It says enable message bar. You want to make sure this is on. And dynamic, that means it would come up in a manner that it would pop out from the top slowly. That's what dynamic means. Most of the settings you can leave. Enable close button, that's on. You want to leave that on because you don't want it to come down and not give the visitor the option to close it. So what I mean by that is, and I'll show you, we'll keep going here. Scroll down, leave most of the options on. The one thing you want to change, this is important, is the message. So right now it's activated. If I go to my website here, not this one, but the guinea pig website, or let's call it that, which is savvyparent.com. No, by the way, I know this is not spelled right because there's already a website called Savvy Parent. So the domain name was not available. I purposely chose Savvy Parent because I wanted the name, and that name wasn't available. SAVVY was not available. So anyway, Savvy Parent. Did you notice this? That's the message bar right here, where it says get an awesome sticky message bar, download. Excuse me. That is the default message because we haven't changed anything yet. We just activated it. And there is the close button, the one I was talking about, that you wanted to make sure this is enabled, and it is enabled by default. So just leave it alone. If it's enabled, your users can click here to close it and click here again to open it. Now let's go back and change the message here. The message that says get an awesome sticky message bar. See, that's the message right here. So let's call it, going back to our initial example, check out my new thriller. Okay, so this will be the message if I go back here. So the message you see here is this, the one we just changed. Once I save it, it will be active. If you go back, see the download button, it says download. What if you don't want it to say download? You want to say, check out my new thriller. Click here. For example, that's a better action. Call to action, rather. A call to action tells the user to do something, to take one action. Click here, question mark, or I'm sorry, yeah, exclamation point, rather. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to allow it to save and refresh. There we go. If I scroll to the bottom where the message is there, the message is changed. Now let's go to the website. I'm going to refresh by hitting my F5 key on my keyboard. And notice, keep an eye on this. You're going to see that it changes. There you go. Check out my new thriller. Click here. Okay. Now, when they click on this click here button, you want them to go to a certain web page or a certain link. It could be on your own blog. It could be on Amazon or on Barnes & Noble or wherever you want them to go. Okay. So to do that, you would change this link here, which we didn't change. So you would change this to, let's say, my homepage, savvyparent.com. Excuse me. savvyparent.com, and save. Now, when they click, let's wait for this to save. There you go. When they click on this button, I have to refresh the page for it to take effect. And when they click on this now, they will go back to my home page. It won't be much of a difference because, so there you go, my home page. So you get the point. That's how you actually get people to, you get to activate that, that plugin. So as you can tell, as you are sleeping, this pop-up, this plugin can show this message every time someone goes to your blog. And that's one way you can automate something. And that saves you a lot of time. Instead of you doing stuff or trying to track down people, they just see the message. Okay. Now, I want to make sure we get to at least one more demonstration. And this one is very, very big. I love this tool, and I've been using it for several months now. Or I'm sorry, several weeks, and it has done wonders for me, specifically in handling my pages, my webinar pages. So I'm going to go back to our presentation, and I am going to go to, okay, so we'll go to demo. We're going to skip demo number 2, demo number 3. These are wonderful tools. I will add them to a list, and I will share the links. I will also put it on the worksheet for the webinar that you can download on my webinar page. Okay. All right. So demo number 4 is Instabuilder. Instabuilder is a wonderful tool that allows you to design pages on the fly. Now, I know what you're thinking. I am not a web designer. You don't have to be. This is by far one of the easiest and most affordable tools I can find to date that allow you to create pages that you can just drag and drop. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to know how to design websites or know how to code. And the reason I want to share this tool is it really is a tool that can do wonders for you as an author. So you want to make sure you use this tool for your web page design needs. So we'll go into the presentation here, and I'll show you how to use this tool. Okay, in the interest of time, I will quickly go through this slide, and then I'll show you a demonstration of the tool. You will love it. It's a wonderful tool. Okay, so it's great for, as I mentioned, you don't have to be technical. It saves you a lot of time. Instead of building a page in hours, you can literally create a page in less than 5 minutes. It's that amazing. You can create multiple pages, whether it's webinar pages, which is good for if you're having a webinar, sales pages, if you're selling something, landing pages. A landing page allows you to, let's say you have an ad on Facebook. You want people to click on the ad and go to a certain page. That certain page is called a landing page. It could have a video or your product or some text that tells people to take some action to buy that product or to sign up for something when they land on that page. And finally, sign up pages. You can have a pop-up that comes that says, join my mailing list. And you can use this tool to do all that. Okay, let me jump into the demonstration right now. We only have for about 10 minutes left to go here. I want to be conscious of your time and make sure that this is worthwhile for you. So we'll go back into to my browser, and I am going to show you. Okay, so here's our guinea pig website again. And we're gonna do what we did before. So let's say you want to find that plugin. It's called Instabuilder 2.0. So you would go to plugins right here on the left hand side, click on add new, and you do the same thing we did. You would search for Instabuilder 2.0, and that should come up. The process is the same. Every time you want to add a plugin, you would search for it and install it. Actually, in this case, it's not coming up, but because I had to, sometimes you have to download the plugin on the website of the person who designed it. Some plugins are like that. So in this case, you could just do a Google search, Instabuilder 2.0, version 2.0. I happen to have the link handy, but you could do a Google search and it would come up. Okay, so this is the website, but yeah, I'll do something that's more representative of what you would see. Instabuilder, and I'll just do a Google search, because this is what you probably would have to do. Instabuilder.com. There you go. And that's one way.
Just a few minutes from now, I'm going to show you how you can quickly.
Okay, so it's displaying some information here on the website. Okay, and I will have the link on the webinar page for the webinar replay for those who are interested in looking at the tool. This is a tool I highly recommend. I have had amazing results with it, and I want you to have the same benefit and be using it on your own website. Okay, so after you download it, you will get a folder that you can install. And if you have questions on how to do that, just shoot me an email or a message, and I will certainly be glad to help you with that. So after you install it, think of what we did with the GC message bar, same process, except for in this case, you may have to add a folder. It's the same way. You do it the same way with some slight differences. Okay, so I'm going to go to it. After you install it, you would see something like this on the left-hand side here. Let me make sure you can see the screen. Yeah. On the left-hand side, go to Dashboard. Okay. And it's as simple as this. Once you install it, you click on New Page, and watch this. It has templates that are ready for you to use. Let's say I want to design a launch page. Let's say for my website, savvyparent.com. I don't have my book ready to launch yet, but I want to capture some information from people who visit that website by doing an ad on Facebook, for example. When they land to my page on savvyparent.com, let's say I want them to land on a page that displays, let's see, one of the templates here that displays a video. And I'll select amid the templates here that displays a video. There you go. So I'm going to pick, I have various templates to pick from. And this is amazing. This saves me a ton of time, a lot of time. I mean, I'm talking days here. So you just pick the template you want. I'm going to pick one here. Oh, I like the red one, so I'll choose that one. You click on choose. And I'm waiting for it to load. There you go. The page has some templates already ready to go. The only thing you need to do really is fill out the information. Double click here to change the text. So you could do this and say, And I'll just do this quickly, add some text here. My new parenting book, Raising Perfect Children. And I'm just using this as an example, so bear with me. And then you can change the text color. You could really do whatever you want here. I don't have time to go through this. This plugin alone could be a separate webinar. It's that powerful. And then here, for the video, you click on the video where the video would be. This could be a YouTube video or whatever video. You could select YouTube as the link, and then you just enter the video here. So you would film the video, put it on YouTube, if you want to put it on YouTube, that is. Get the link from YouTube, copy and paste it here, and then hit save. See the save button here? It immediately display the video. So whoever comes to this page will see the video. And then in your video, you could tell your visitors, if you want more information, please sign up for my mailing list. And for the mailing list, you could do the same thing. You could change the text here to say, instead of saying, get this free report, you could say, get more information. As an example, since we're running out of time, I'm going to try and do this quickly. Okay, get more information. And then you could say whatever you want. Enter your name below, and see it has the arrows pre-built in. Instead of saying download the report, you could change the text here. Double click on the button that says download the report. Click on the gear, and you can enter your code here. This will be the code that will capture the name, first name and last name that you would get from your email responder client, like MailChimp. You can sign up for free, and they will give you a code you could paste here so that every time someone enters their name, it sends that information to MailChimp, so you have that information handy to contact your users, to contact these people who are now leads, because anyone who watches the video and enters their name is interested in what you're talking about, what you have to sell potentially, so you can contact them. As an author, this is one of the first things you should do. This actually should have been the first plugin I showed you, but I wanted to make sure that those who stayed for the end actually got to see this. And that's simple. After that, let's say I'm done. I would just hit save here. And there's a lot more you can do with this. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And I'll show you examples on my own website, the one that's for my official author website, umarjeng.com, so you can see how powerful this tool is. And this is how you can save time and automate your tasks. As an author, again, I can't stress this enough. You have to capture leads for building your platform. You just have to do that. Otherwise, you are really missing the point in terms of building your platform. I know some of you want to just focus on writing your books, which is also a priority, but nowadays you have to grow and catch up with the times and make sure that you are doing these things, okay? All right, so you set it up and hit save. I'm gonna now go to the behind the scenes, what we looked at earlier, which is my, again, if you're using WordPress, you would go to that link, your administration link. And now if I go back to Instabuilder, I'm going to click on Instabuilder, go to the dashboard. It should show me that I created a page. So see, it would show it under unpublished pages right here. So scroll down. Here are all the pages that I created. So it should be the top one here. I'm going to click on it. And it will bring it up as a preview here. But you need to remember, go back to the dashboard, to publish the page. So you click on the gear here, click on publish. Okay. And the page is now live. It's actually on the internet. If you typed in that savvyparent.com and the page title, it will come up. But notice that I didn't change the name of the page because it just gave it a random name here. See, notice right here, I don't like that name. I want my page names to follow a certain format. So I am gonna, here, let me go back here. I'm gonna click on the gear. See the quickest way to do this here. Okay, so I'll click on edit and I can go to the gear here, go to page settings, page info, and this is the page name. So I'm going to change this to book launch, for example. Hit save. Okay, you can arrow back if you want. Leave this page. Yes, I did save it, so I can leave it. Okay, back on the dashboard here. So I'm gonna, since I hit the back button, it's showing an old information, so I'll just hit dashboard here to get the latest page. There we go. Okay, so it should show the page right away. Again, we're running out of time, so but you can change the page name, and you can do a lot more with it. So the point I was trying to make is that you can use this tool. It's a plugin, and it allows you to do fantastic stuff. As you can see, you can add more stuff to the page. And just to illustrate my point, you could see the icons here on the left. You could drag and drop. You could add another video if you want. You could add an image. You could add another form. You could add columns. You could add so much. And you could even add social share buttons, which is important. You could click here, watch. I drag it. I drop it right here. And you update this information. It links to all your social media sites. It's that easy. So anyway, we're coming to an end here. We're 3 minutes over. I am going to wrap up the webinar. And let me go back to my dashboard, see if there are any questions that came through that you need me to answer. Let me close some of these windows here. All right, okay, so that concludes our webinar. I don't see that there are any questions out there. If you have a question, click on the small gear that's actually on the page to ask any questions that you may have. And there's a Q&A button there that you can click on that will allow you to ask any questions that you have. So it looks like we don't have any questions in queue, so I am going to conclude the webinar. Okay. Okay, so I don't see any questions that anyone is asking questions, so that's good. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to wrap up the webinar. Okay, all right, so if you have any questions after watching this, please feel free to contact me. Like I said, I am trying to make sure that I provide value. I hope this webinar has been worthwhile and worth your time. I hope you picked up some good tips and tricks in terms of automating your website, automating your blog, and saving time and focusing on what matters, which is your writing time and your blog. If you are a small business owner, this is also a tool that you can use, certainly, to your advantage. If you have any questions, contact me. Please go ahead and like my Facebook page. Visit my Facebook page, and you can certainly click on it and like it if you have any questions. Like my Facebook page, I'll like you back. Contact me through LinkedIn or through my website. Thank you very much for watching the webinar. I wish you the best in your endeavors, and I wish you the best success Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.